Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Please subscribe my channel. The scent of fresh coffee and old perfume clung to the studio air. A familiar perfume Mark had breathed for 20 years. He adjusted his tie in the reflection of a silent camera lens, the man staring back looking both exactly like and nothing like the Mark Vanguard the audience expected. Across the room, Chloe laughed. A bright, effortless sound that seemed to bounce off the walls. She was scrolling through her phone, already deep in the digital world that was as natural to her as breathing. "Look at this," she said, turning the screen. "The fans are already speculating about my shoes. They think they're a message." Mark offered a practiced smile. "In my day, shoes were just shoes." "That's why you have a stylist now, old-timer," she shot back, her tone playful, but with an edge that had become sharper in recent months. The chemistry that producers praised felt increasingly like a performance, a delicate dance on a floor that was tilting beneath his feet. The red light glowed. "And we're back in 5, 4, 3. The floor manager's fingers counted down. "Welcome back." Chloe's voice was a beam of sunshine, perfectly calibrated. "We were just talking about life's unexpected transitions." Mark took his cue, the words flowing on autopilot. He told a self-deprecating story about his disastrous attempt to assemble a modern bookshelf. The audience laughed in all the right places. But as he spoke, he watched Chloe. He saw the way she leaned into the camera, how her social media feed was a second parallel show running constantly in her mind. She wasn't just having a conversation. She was creating content, building a brand. He was having a conversation. The difference was a chasm. During the commercial break, a young intern approached him, not with the day's news copy, but with a list of trending hashtags. "The producers thought you could work #DadEnergy into your next segment, Mark. The analytics show it tests really well with the 25 to 40 demographic." Mark stared at the words on the tablet. Dad energy. He felt a door click shut, a label being firmly affixed to his lapel. He was no longer the sharp, contemporary host, the lovable, slightly out-of-touch relic, the character in a story he hadn't written. That night, his home was profoundly quiet. No frantic producers, no cheering audience, no Chloe's bright chatter. Just the hum of the refrigerator and the whisper of the city outside. He poured a glass of water and stood by the window, the dad energy comment echoing in the silence. He thought about leaving. It would be the dignified thing to do. To bow out before the network gently, or not so gently, pushed him. But that thought ignited a quiet, stubborn fire in his gut. He wasn't ready to be a footnote in the show's history, a nostalgic photo in a "Where Are They Now" segment. The next morning, he walked into the writer's room instead of his dressing room. The young staff looked up, surprised. "I have an idea," Mark said, placing a notepad on the table. "A segment we'll call Unfiltered. No trending topics, no viral dances, just a real conversation." He saw the skepticism in their eyes, but he also saw a flicker of interest. The following day, when the red light glowed, Mark didn't launch into his usual polished banter. He leaned forward, his elbows on the desk, and looked directly into the camera. "Everyone's talking about authenticity," he began, his voice lower, quieter, drawing the audience in instead of projecting out. "But it's become just another performance. So today, let's talk about something real. Let's talk about the fear of becoming irrelevant." Chloe, to her credit, didn't flinch. She set her phone down, her full attention on him. The segment wasn't filled with easy laughs. It was raw and, at times, uncomfortably honest. Mark spoke about the pressure to stay relevant, the strangeness of seeing your life's work reduced to a hashtag. Chloe, in turn, spoke about the pressure to be constantly on, to commodify her every moment. The social media response wasn't the usual flurry of heart emojis and LOLs. It was deeper. Finally, someone said it, one comment read. "This is the Mark I remember," said another. After the show, the head producer clapped him on the shoulder. That was a risk, but the phones are lighting up. They loved it. Mark just nodded. He walked back to his quiet dressing room and looked in the mirror. The man looking back was still Mark Vanguard, but he was no longer just playing the part. He had finally decided to rewrite it. The spotlight hadn't dimmed. He had simply chosen to shine it on something real. And in doing so, he had found his voice again, not in spite of his years, but because of them.